you'll hear claims of like, oh, our AI removes bias, and be careful, right? Don't just assume that what they're saying is true. If you're talking to a vendor or you're talking to a technology company, AI doesn't, just because there's AI does not mean it removes bias automatically. Absolutely not. If it's done in a certain way, it can absolutely reduce bias. But again, you have to be able to like suss that out. You have to be able to ask the right questions. You have to be able to be sophisticated in kind of also at doing an analysis. There are ways of doing an analysis to show based on the output data and the input data, is it biased, is it not biased, right? Like they're really good techniques out there to do that, but do not take their word for it necessarily, make them prove it to you. In fact, one of the things we've been recommending is having this be part of your RFP process as you go forward, as you talk to vendors, asking them certain questions around their compliance. Hey, are you compliant? In different jurisdictions. What bias do you have? Demonstrate to us. Here's some pilot data, pilot with us and demonstrate that you're not biased, right? Explainability. How do you explain the decisions that it's being made? This is important in HR, right? So if you're rejecting candidates, or you're using an algorithm to reject candidates, right? Candidates may come and ask you, hey, why was I rejected? And if it's a human, we know how it is today. Oh, well, you didn't, you didn't pass the interview because your problem solving wasn't as good on the interview as we wanted it to be, whatever, right? But what if it's an AI system? How do you make it explain? So, this has got to be all part of your RFP process or the questions you ask these vendors. Is it effective? Well, maybe it's effective on day one, but here's something that you may not know. A lot of models, predictive models, they drift over time and they can become worse over time. So a model, a vendor or a technology or a model that you're using in 2022, if you're not monitoring that, maybe in 2025, it's terrible. How do you know that? And now you're paying $500,000 a year for this technology that's not even working well. You've got to monitor these things. And experience, right? What's the candidate experience like? What's the associate experience like when they're interacting with these systems? Are these positive experiences, right? So all of these things are things you should be checking and you should be on top of. And this goes to then really like flushing out and building like a whole governance model around using AI. And I start with strategy. And this was, I think, a question Robin asked earlier, but like, be careful, like be thoughtful about where you're using AI to begin with. Don't just use it willy-nilly, because you're going to have a ton of companies coming in, pitching you, oh, we do AI for this, or we do AI for that. And it's going to sound amazing. It's going to sound cool, but start with a strategy. Where do you want to use humans in the loop? Where do you want to use automation in the loop? Where do you want to use AI in the loop? It requires a very thoughtful strategy. Even in recruiting and hiring, I think AI is going to play a bigger and bigger role, but I think we want humans in the loop, continued. And where, how, what role do they play? What are humans good at, right? And so there's a lot of strategy there to be really thought through. And this is something, I think companies are going to want to get better at.